Hello everyone, Andoni Rose here. Recently I did a remix of Hayley Williams' solo track Sima, and I thought about doing a bit of a behind the scenes video about how I did it. This is not going to be a tutorial by any means in the classic sense because I'm no expert when it comes to producing electronic music, but I thought that maybe showing some of the steps that I did during the process could be of interest for some of you. I'm going to explain it dividing the structure of the video in three different parts. The first one, in which one I'm going to talk about the artistic decisions or the intention that I had in mind when I built the remix. In the second part, I'm going to show you a screen recording of my Cubase project, the one where I do like the arrangement, the structure of the song with the different decisions that I took, instruments and everything about that kind of stuff. And in the third one, I'm going to be really nerdy talking about when it comes to mixing. And I think that showing it this way, I'll be able to give you like a whole overview of how I did it. And with Rainy Eyes, it's an electronic solo project that I started a few years ago. I think until now I've done like 3 or 4 remixes, I think. And I wasn't really sure until now of which was the kind of style that I wanted to do with it. And I think that with this remix is the closer that I've reached the picture that I have in mind for it, I would say. Recently I joined Rachel Collier Patreon and Discord community, and to be honest, it's really helping me to be more proactive with this electronic project. I did this remix for her International Women's Day challenge. The objective of this challenge was just like paying tribute to women whose art really inspired us. So I chose a song by Hayley Williams, since I have a huge respect for her artistic vision, both with Paramore and her solo work. This remix has been also the first time I've collaborated with my sister in one of my music projects. She did the artwork for it, and it was a great decision and experience because both the music and the visuals influence each other. You can follow her on Instagram. I'll leave a link in the description. When it comes to the vision that I had for this remix, I wanted it to have like a really strong sense of storytelling, channeling what Hayley tells in Sima. Sima is a song about rage, but also as the whole concept of the album is about embracing our own vulnerability, I would say. So, for that, I sampled some of the responses in her amazing interviews on Apple Music with Saint Lowe, that is such a great interviewer, by the way. Talking about musical references, there were some artists that I had very present for some aspects of this remix. Burial, for example, for the sound design and atmosphere, Moderate for the groove and general vibe, and especially Fred Again, that has been like my current obsession, one of the artists that I listen currently the most, especially for his use of samples and having always the emotion in the center of it all. As you can see in this project for this remix, I have the file divided in 2 sections. In the first one, here, I have the original stems from the track in a folder from which I selected the parts that I wanted to use in my take of the song. You can hear here some of the solo vocals.
Rage, is it in our veins? Control, there's so many ways to give in. Eyes closed, another way to make it to 10.
So on the second part of this project, I settled the structure, just here, of my remix as I arranged it. As you can see, I have organized it in folders for each different section, or each different instrument, with different colors, and I'm going to try to make my explanations straight to the point, to the details that I think are the coolest or more interesting in my arrangement. So let's start with the backbone of my remix, and that will be the beat. use my go-to MIDI drum library, Invasion from Headwood Drums. In this case, I use it to draw the main structure of the groups that I was using, that are variations of two concepts. One of them is like more or less based on a two-step UK garage kind of groove, and the other one is like a really linear from the floor techno vibe. In this case, when I work on electronic stuff, I always try to rely on samples for the MIDI stuff of the beat, and in this case I reinforce everything, and later on the mixing project I decided which sounds or which frequencies or which part of each element I wanted to really shine on the final mix. But for example, I used a sample kick from a free sample pack of Mad Lunch. I use also snare and also sample some noise hi-hats.
Is a shield.
And I also use some of the vocal stems from Hayley to make additional percussion and syncopation, for example, like this vocal hit hat using the Beat Crusher plugin Pixelator. Later on the mixing project, I show you some different creative decisions that still help to shape more the beat. For the second element, it will be the bass. I use three different instruments. Two of them were like more synthesized ones. I use some synthesizer plugin, but I'm going to show you the third one, that is the bass that I used on the drop. The interesting stuff that I did here is that I use Noli bass. It's based on a real instrument, but the thing is that I wanted to keep like the electronic vibe or energy of the whole remix. So I use the plugin that I just showed you, Shaperbox, to change the flow of how it sounded and make it like more fluid, or gave it less attack and more movement, to say it in some way. Okay, when it comes to guitars, I did like a more traditional kind of arrangement. I use a neural DSP plugin. For the bass I use Parallax, and for the guitars in this one I use the Rabea plugin. And I did two different concepts for guitars. The first one, in the first half of the song, is like more traditional in the sense that I'm using here clean tones. And I use my go-to classic dotted delay arrangements that I love, and I put them on everything.
I just didn't have access to your a shield.
I'm really happy with how this section came, using this like syncopated guitar with the hi-hat set in another pattern. It was like really cool because when the 4 on the 4 straightforward, just to the gut, kicks in redundant, it sounds really powerful because of the arrangement that came before. And for the more creative guitars, in the second half, I tried to make like some synthesized guitars, like post-rock ambient arrangement, and I use Shaperbox to make it sound more like a synth pulse. And then the last arrangement is one of them I'm most proud of. It's this guitar that I use Shaper Box to, but to set a different kind of pulse, and then so to make a panning arrangement left to right. And in the end, this arrangement inspired the way the song ended with the techno, in the industrial techno, really dark outro. Okay, and talking now about the vocals, as I explained before in the previous section, talking about intention, I sampled a lot of sentences from an interview of Hayley Williams with Apple Music. I used them to create this kind of narrative vibe of the remix.
And in life, like every part of it fell apart. Every layer was just crumbling, and I'm sort of like really bothered by my own, walking contradiction. I couldn't have said some of this stuff before because I just didn't have access to it. I don't want to know who I'd be if I hadn't already learned some of these lessons. Being vulnerable is a shield. Being vulnerable is a shield. Some of these lessons. Being vulnerable is a shield. Being vulnerable is a shield.
I really think that sentence, being vulnerable is a shield, really work for this techno pre-drop kind of build-up. About the vocal chops and main melodies, I show them better on the mixing project because there is a lot going on. And just one final arrangement. I set it up here, so soundscape using a mobile recording. It sounds over the whole remix. I wanted to create like a burial kind of soundscape. It's one of those details that you don't really notice, but really feel when it's missing, as you can check here. So that will be it for the arrangement project. So in this second part, talking about the mix, I have to be honest and say that this one is not a really fancy one. I focused mainly on surgical EQ and creating space and depth with effects like delay and especially reverb. Nonetheless, there are some creative mixing decisions that I think I can highlight. So in the first place, talking about the beat, I would like to show how tiny modifications in little details, in my opinion, can help with the flow and a feel of change as you hear the song. In this case, I played with the kick. In the end, I only use the kick of the sample of Mad Lunch. These three tracks are the kick of Get Good Drums that in the end I muted because it doesn't have the right vibe I was looking for. As you can hear, compared to how it sounded on the arrangement projects, now it has like a more roomy reverb. I used Valhalla for that. It has a lot more of impact and it's more compressed and it sounds more cohesive overall. And the Valhalla, where in this case I use more reverb that I would use naturally, I think, because I wanted it to have like a teeny bit of ambience to it. not to sound really dry. About the creative choices, I use a different kind of sound in the kick for, let me look, here it is, the Mad Lunch kick. A different sound for the UK garage sections and the techno sections with different EQ.
Then cuts like a mother.
You see, I wanted one of them to sound more like really dark and had like a different vibe, more space, and the other one in the techno I wanted it to be punchy, to go to your gut, to really sound a tiny bit more in your face. Talking about the synthesized guitars, I had previously showed like the heavy processing, but I just would like to highlight the fact that I did like some automations to create like a cut filter, a high cut filter. Little things like this one really draw the difference, helping with the flow and the impact of the different transitions. Talking about the voice, I would just highlight that I like to organize my vocal processing depending if it's the verses, the pre-chorus, the chorus, the bridge, and play with that like to make it feel different on the production side. I show you just a really quick overview so you can hear the vocals on solo with the processing already applied.
Quiet thing. Rage.
I have to take responsibility.
'Cause nothing cuts like a mother.
I'm sort of like really bothered by my own, walking contradiction.
Mercy, mercy, mercy. Control. Thing eyes closed. Mercy, 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 mercy.
As you can see, there is a lot going on. So if you have any concrete question, you can ask it in the comments of the video, and I'll try to resolve it or keep it in mind for future videos. The effects of the vocals. I think it's really complex because you can see I have this saturation, two different types of delay with different rhythm, a chorus to widen the whole sense of the vocals on the stereo field, two different reverbs, and one for the for the longer tails that I don't think I really used it at all or not so much in this remix, and a whole parallel compression for the vocals to keep it balanced. Just to finish, a quick overview. You have here the different channels that I have in my template. For the voices, you have here like the whole chain for the voices, and for the mix. And just I do the master on the same project. Classic stereo widener, virtual tape machine from Slate Digital, and Ozone, obviously. Everyone uses Ozone. So that will be it. I try to keep like a balanced approach in the way I show you every step of the way I did this remix. Let me know in the comments what did you like, what you didn't like, what would you like to see more, because I'm planning to do more videos in this kind of style. Maybe it can be for future stuff that I do for With Rainy Eyes. Maybe it can be for like showing how I do a cover from scratch, or maybe I could show you some original stuff that I'm currently working on. So keep an eye for the future content to come, and I'll see you here again very soon.